It's hard to believe, but Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band came out 50 years ago. Yeah, 50 years ago, just a few days ago. That's unbelievable. Like, if you're like me, and you remember when Sergeant Pepper's came out, please raise your hand. Let's see if you're able to. If you're like me, oh my gosh, right? I mean, I of course am old enough to remember when the Beatles were first came to the U.S. and when they came on the Ed Sullivan show. Most of you just need to go check your history, okay? But in fact, go watch the videos of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show, February 9th, 1964 to be exact. And I remember that they did sing I Wanna Hold Your Hand. That was incredible. Although I'm not sure we could hear it because of all the screaming from the girls in the audience. But besides honoring the fact that probably the most innovative album of all time, innovative and uncopyable, dare say the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper's are both uncopyable and will certainly be in my upcoming Uncopyable Hall of Fame. Besides that, one of the cool things about the Beatles was that there was an interview one time that showed clearly that the Beatles had a sense and had an understanding in their minds that this was a business. That while, yeah, they still wanted to be creative, but ultimately they were doing things, writing songs, recording songs to make a living, to earn money, and you can go search, you can see that there was a famous statement by Paul McCartney many years ago, many years ago, where he said, and I'm going to put the quote up here, he said, John would be getting an extension on his house or something, and the joke used to be, okay, today let's write a swimming pool. And it was great motivation. And he went on to say, then in the next 3 hours, Help appears from nowhere, the song Help. And you'd suddenly get the idea, this will be a hit, this is a good one. And you become aware that what you were doing was making money. It was making money, making good money, but you were making money. So they understood that they were in business. And that is the first big lesson that we can take away from the Beatles. And is that yes, they were extremely creative. And I think when they ultimately did Sgt. Pepper's, I think that maybe that might have been a path, a pivot, that they didn't know if this would be a hit or not. But before that, they would deliberately write songs that they thought would be successful. Now, so number one was that they understood they were not in business of writing songs. They were in the business of selling songs, of marketing songs. Now, that leads to number two, is that not only that, but they were able to develop a system. They were able to have a system in place that literally automated that ability, that accelerated that ability to make money. And, I talk about this in my book, Uncopyable, How to Create Unfair Advantage Over Your Competition, Chapter 2, I believe it is, Chapter 2, where I talk about what I call the marketing diamond. And the marketing diamond explains, or the marketing diamond is the path that we should take that helps, that if we do it right, it's almost like an automated system. And, part one, number one step in the marketing diamond is understanding your market. Who is your market? Where is your market? How big is your market? Clearly, John and Paul understood that. They understood who their market was. Like I was 12 years old when I watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. That was in 1964. So by the time Sgt. Pepper's came out, I was 15 or 16 by that time, I think. And, so I was clearly right smack in their target market. And even today, the Beatles are still hugely, hugely popular because those kids grew up, we grew up to be the baby boomers. But the Beatles music is timeless and it's so innovative. And I dare say that both the Beatles, I think I can easily say the Beatles and the album Sgt. Pepper's were uncopyable, and uncopyable to the point where they're still uncopyable. And Sgt. Pepper's might be the most uncopyable album of all time. Feel free to argue with me, and that's cool. Share your comments below. Tell me what you think about that too. But so they understood their market, right? That's number one in the marketing diamond. Number two is the message. So they have a product. So they're writing a product, and then they're saying to their marketplace, this is something that you need. You need this song, and it's what you want, right? It's like moose bait. I talk about in my book. I am a professional speaker that that the target market is like hunting moose. Let's say you're hunting moose, and in the forest there are lots and lots of animals, hundreds and hundreds of different types of animals, maybe thousands of different types of animals, but you are only hunting moose. And when you're hunting moose, you need the message that you're sending out is moose bait. And it has to be bait that just the moose care about, that the moose really, really wants that bait. So you develop that bait, the message to your market, so to speak. And then the third thing is, what is the medium that you're going to use to deliver that message to the marketplace? And in the Beatles case, it was the songs were delivered, via records, via 45s. I used to have 45s of the songs from the Beatles. Had a long playing 33 1/3 albums, and then ultimately, thanks to my dad, we got the 8-track tape players, and those were the medium that were used to deliver that, right? And because my moose were hungry for whatever I was delivering, then the moment that those new products came out, the moose would be ready to buy. So number one, who's your market? Number two, what's the message to your market? Number three is the media, and then number four is the moment of when they're going to buy. Now, if you're not familiar, if you want more information about that, then doggone it, go get my book, Uncopyable: How to Create an Unfair Advantage Over Your Competition. I'm going to tell you, quite lack of humility, whatever you want to call it. I knew it was a good book when I wrote it. I knew it had great information when I wrote it. The response has been unbelievable. The comments people are making, the reviews that they're leaving on Amazon, go read the reviews. I didn't write them. Other people wrote them. And, fans wrote them. My moose wrote them. And doggone it, you can get it on Amazon for less than $20. Go get the darn book today. It's a short, fast read, but it's got great information. I'm going to tell you, you got to go get it and learn how to market like the Beatles. Understand, you are not in the business of making widgets. You're in the business of selling widgets. And if you do not understand your moose, and you do not develop a widget for them that they want to buy, and then help make them hungry for your products, then you know what? The last thing, this is a lesson that I learned when the 8-track died, and my dad and his team tried to build a better 8-track. The last thing that I learned was, the big lesson I learned was, the last thing you want to be is very, very good at something no one wants to pay for. Okay? So, when you're out thinking about your marketing today, when you're thinking about getting it going today, and don't be one of those CEOs or C-level executives or not marketing people, not talking to you, but the others, the C-levels, who think that your job is making widgets. Your job is selling widgets. Okay? Get out there and sell widgets. Think like John and Paul. Write a swimming pool. This is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad and marketing gunslinger. Thanks for joining me this week for another Uncopyable program. Look forward to talking to you again. Be sure to get my book. See you.